Hello, and a warm welcome to another Getting Started with SINEC NMS. In the following video, we'll take a look at the monitoring options, namely how we call up diagnostics in SINEC NMS for our devices, and how any needed troubleshooting can be carried out directly from SINEC NMS. Thanks to SINEC NMS, we have our system events, but of course also our network events, summarized centrally in one place. This means, among other things, that we can predict downtimes in our plant, and of course also see how our devices have been working in the last hours, days, or weeks. That is, whether or not they were 100% available, or whether they had too high an interface load somewhere. The obvious advantage is that we can reduce downtimes in the long term, and also increase the performance in our network. Should an error now have occurred in our network, we can proceed according to the following steps. First of all, obviously, we have to notice that the error occurred. We can see this, for example, in the topology view of SINEC NMS, and also in the group signals on the start page of our operations or our control. If we now have determined that there is an error in the network, we should of course also identify it. That is, we should find out which device is affected, or perhaps which device group. And of course, we should also see whether the devices can still be reached and perhaps obtain detailed information about the error. This function can be implemented, for example, with the help of the event list. There we'll find the device details, the IP address of the affected device, and other information, such as when this error occurred. In case our network error has not resolved itself automatically, we can now try to adjust the configuration of our devices, and by doing so, eliminate the error from the network. In the upcoming demonstration, I want to show you how we proceed in case of an error. We first look at the group signals on the control. We then switch to our operations and start observing the topology. We can now get more information about our error, either from the event list from SINEC NMS or in the device details of our affected devices themselves. I now would like to show you an example of troubleshooting using the configuration cockpit of SINEC NMS operations. On the start page of our control, the device states are shown to us, as well as the system states. Let's now switch to the topology view of our operations. Everything looks good here so far, except for our CPU, which is currently not accessible via SNMP. Now we want to simulate the following error. A port was deactivated during repair work on our network. Now, let's see how the error impacts us in SINEC NMS. We can already see on the start page that some devices are no longer reachable. If we switch to the Network Monitoring Operations view, we can also see how many devices are affected on our operation. In the device view of the control, we get further information about IP addresses or system names of our affected devices. From here, we can now also switch directly to our operations. In the topology view, we can now select our device which appears to be causing the error. With a double click, we can go to the device details. Under Events, we can now see all the events that have occurred for this device. In the latest event details, we can see that a LAN interface is inactive. Under the Load tab, we can also see which one it is. As mentioned at the start in our example, a port was deactivated during repair work. I'm now going to show you how you can activate this port again from within SINEC NMS. Under Network Administration Configuration Cockpit and then the Interfaces tab, you can now carry out a port configuration. First off, we choose our device using the IP address. The matching device will be displayed too. We can now see that there's a message for port 3, Import Status, namely that the port status is down or that we have requested maintenance. We select our port, a role, and under Interface Configurations, we can then see all device functions for a port configuration. Under Set Port Configuration, we can change both a port and the port status. As users, we can decide to enforce everything just for this device or perhaps as a policy for several devices, which can also be enforced at a later time. Back in the Policy Control Center, we can already see that our policy has been edited and also see the status. Under Policy Enforcements, we can view a detailed enforcement report. To check whether the troubleshooting has already helped at this point, let's switch to our topology view. We can now see that the device status of our previously unreachable devices has changed, and that our event list now includes resolving events. An event in the network gets automatically resolved if a resolving counter event of the same error class occurs. In Device Details LAN, we can now see that our port 3 is active again. Let's now look at the events for the device. Here we see that we have 2 resolving events and that our error and warning were resolved automatically. Our device is back to being okay. After a short time, everything in our topology view has returned to normal. The devices as well as the connections are now active again. With the help of the example shown, you now have an idea of how you can identify errors in the network with SINEC NMS and how to resolve them from within SINEC NMS. I wish you lots of success in resolving errors in your network applying what I have shown you.
Siemens. Ingenuity for life.